Good morning to all of you young men and women that are watching today. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to speak with you, to share with you, to be a part of what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing in your life, things you're going through, your ups, your downs, highs, lows, experiences, whatever they may be. The name of these videos are MAD, and that stands for making a difference. What a perfect acronym for such a topic or topics, that is, because I think that we as adults who profess to love you, profess to care about you, who serve you, who are supposed to guide you, provide you with protection, whatever the things are, to love you, honor you, just as we seek you to do those things to us, we ought to be mad. We ought to be very angry with the way lots of you, young women and men, are headed. Things that we've sat back and saw that have taken place in your life, in some cases have allowed to go on right in our own homes, right in our own backyard, in our neighborhoods, communities, in the world in which we live. So whether you're white, black, Hispanic, Asian, Indian, Pacific Islander, whatever race, and you'll hear me say this in every video, because it is not just a group of people only, one group or two groups, that these things take place. We might see it more highlighted in the news. We might even feel that way because we come from that background, but it's not true. That's not the case. Pain knows no race. Disappointment, letdown, frustration, hurt, violence, bad choices, poor. And many of us are poor up here. It doesn't just refer to a financial status, because a lot of you young men and women, you're just looking to be loved, heard, taught, guided. In many cases, we failed to do that as your parents, whether step parents, grandparents, parental figures, whether you're teachers, probation officers, mentors, psychologists, judges, lawyers, all of us who have interaction with you on a day-to-day basis. Whatever agencies we are employed with, whatever role we play in your life or as we're viewed by you, we actually can relate to you. You're not alone. And so today I want to focus on that. This is part 2 to the video, You're Not Alone. Young man, young woman, I'm sure in your mind and at many times in your life, you've wondered, do they understand what I'm going through? Can they relate to me? This person who's not from my race, not from my culture, do they really get it? This person who's not my age, who never grew up like I did, can they really offer me some true, genuine hope, some true support? Can they really guide me in the right direction? Or am I just simply alone? Well, I want to answer that question today. Again, you're not alone. Man or woman, whatever area of your life that you are working in, the capacity in which you've chosen to take on child rearing, upbringing, assisting a family member, whatever it is, whether it's through babysitting, you're in the field, you've chosen a job, a path, a career, or you've accepted a calling on your life. You have an obligation to tell the truth to the young men and the young women out there in your circle that you have been blessed to be surrounded by. Let me explain why I said blessed. Because nothing just happens by chance. We have a moral obligation, I think as Martin Luther King put it, and I'm just paraphrasing, we have a moral obligation to use our brains, to not be foolish, and allow things to just keep going. Malcolm X once said, and he was referring to people of color, and I believe that it applies to everyone, that before we could expect others to love us, we must first love ourselves. The way I feel about my life and myself will reflect on to you, young man or young woman. And it's not your fault that I feel that way. And when it comes to you not being alone, many of us who you have come across and come in contact with, we know exactly what you're talking about. We may not understand, or we may not feel the way you do, and we may not respond the way that you have. But we're not dumb or blind to what you, young man or young woman, are talking about, what you're asking for. For example, you might say, I never really had a relationship with my father. I'm right there with you. My father and I, he came in my life late, at the age of around 19. I had moved in with him. I tried to make an attempt to move in with him and give him a chance and forgive him for only the things that I never saw, but rather heard from my mom. She painted a pretty vivid picture of the man he once was. She never told me or talked about the man he had become. That was the man that I wanted to get to know, because that was the man, even in the midst of his old or past life or bad choices, I needed him then as well. But I was more interested in getting to know the man he had become. And many of us have grew up in homes where there was drug abuse, alcoholism, verbal, physical abuse, adultery, or, as you know it, young men and women, your father, your mother messing around or having multiple partners. We've seen that. We don't just work in this field. There is no school. There's no book. There's no degree. There's no level of education that could have protected us from such things. Young people, young man, you're not alone. You say that, or we know that you do drugs, but we've done drugs also. In fact, in some cases, we probably have experimented or used more drugs in our young life than you have even mastered in your 4 years of using drugs. We know what it's like to have kids at a young age. We know what it's like to be in broken homes. In fact, when you encounter us sometimes, you may be surprised to know that we're human. That's right. You're not alone. We could sit there and we could listen to you and we could offer advice and encouragement all day long. But you're not alone. We have struggles just like you, whether it's in relationships, whether dating, marriage, with our children, with our grandchildren. We have family members who are making bad choices. Hell, we work in this field with you, and sometimes we make bad choices. And many of you witness it. Many of you know that we are screaming, we're loud. We even get ghetto, as it's called, while talking to you. And that's not what you need, young man or young woman. You don't need another repeat of the stuff that you went through at the hand of your father or your mother. You're not asking for us to be your parent. And sometimes we forget that because we have had it happen to us. And so this vicious cycle continues to repeat because you're not alone. And we've had people treat us wrong, molest us, lie to us, manipulate us. Many of us, many men who are working in the field have been involved in gang banging, have been involved in robberies, have been involved in drug sales, drug use. And young man or young woman, I got something even more frightening for you. There are some of us, not myself, thank God, that are still involved in those things. And you're thinking, well, how could you help me? Young person, I'm here to tell you, you're not alone. And the point of this video is for you to understand in our humanness, all of us are human, that you need someone who's human. A robot cannot help you. Pills cannot just help you. I think those things are good at controlling our emotions, but it doesn't take away the pain. It doesn't heal the heart and help the mind and cause what's right in front of you to be more clear. For you to hear that another person is trying to understand you, for you to feel that the love is real, not fake, not false, that hope is right in front of you to hold on to. You're not alone. You're not the only one who's dealt with the court system. Many are men, young, old, whatever race. We've been involved in the juvie system. Many of us were this close to being DCFS children, taken out of the home, living with a grandmother, living with a grandfather, living with a stepmom. Never got to know our parents. Never really had a true or genuine relationship with our brothers and sisters. And many of us come from blended families. Many of us come from homes where there's a stepbrother, a stepsister, or more. Many of us never finished school, dropped out, constantly getting in trouble. You're not alone. You're not alone, young man, young woman. Many of us still live in the neighborhoods in which you all live. And I'm not speaking only of people that are brown or black. I'm talking about you, young man or young woman, because you grow up in an affluent or a neighborhood where it doesn't seem like this stuff is happening. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. In fact, in some cases, you're smart enough to know that your mom's income is only because she got what have been heard as a come up. Or your dad married into some other person's hard-working money. I'm not saying that this is only the case in other races' homes. I'm saying that the average person, a lot of young men, a lot of young women that I've worked with in my career who are African American or Hispanic have been under the assumption that these things don't happen in the home. But when there's a shooting in a school at the hand of a young person, oh, wow, this happens over there too. They do this. You're not alone. And mom or dad, if you're watching this, why aren't you talking to your children about your past? Why aren't you telling them the truth about why you're bitter? Why aren't you telling them the truth about why you're hurt? Why aren't you telling them the truth, social worker, caseworker, therapist, professional, whatever you are, whatever you do, wherever you're from? You don't have to go into full details. In fact, you could omit or move some of the information out. But if these kids, this young man or woman who might be watching, or that you know, this might be an educational tool for you or a reminder to your heart as to why you chose, or this life was chosen for you. why or how it could better assist you in your career as you navigate through the words and the feelings and emotions that you see this young man or young woman going through. How about just speaking the truth to them? How about just saying, I know what you say. I get what you're saying. I know what you mean. Tell them your story. Oh, you have a story. We all, young man and young woman, and you are not alone. I want to share in my next video some stories of some adults who work in the field that I've worked with in past times, I went to school with, whether in college, high school, parents, single parents, struggling parents, whatever, from every different race. I want to share with you, young man and young woman, some stories so that you are reminded, you can know, and you understand that you're not alone. Join us next time, me and you, when we discuss You're Not Alone, Part 3.